everyone, this is Stamping Songbird, and today I'm going to make one card using this beautiful HoneyBee Stamps Honey Cuts Layering Cone Flower die set. That's a mouthful. It's a beautiful, beautiful die set, and I'm using 80-pound white cardstock, and I've already run all these dies through my Big Shot, and I'm going to color these and make them come alive. So for that, I'm going to use 3 different greens from Ranger's Distress Oxide. And I'm using Shabby Shutters, Peeled Paint, and Rustic Wilderness. I'm going to start with the lightest, Distress Oxide in Shabby Shutters, but just a little bit on the very edge of the leaf. Then I'm going to move on to Peeled Paint, which is a beautiful olivey color, and then I'm going to finalize these leaves using Rustic Wilderness. You could only use 1 or 2 colors to make the leaves come alive. The more that you blend, the better it looks. I don't really like the way that second one looks there towards the middle, but it's okay. It works out in the end. Now I'm going to just put some more of this darker color at the very edge of both leaves. And then I'm going to move on to the flower part. So for the flower part, I'm using 3 Distress Oxides. Again, I'm using Mills Lavender, Seedless Preserves, and Dusty Concord. I'm starting with the lightest, and from the top to the bottom, I'm going to fill in each piece of the dies that will form the full flower. So lightest at the top, the middle color, Seedless Preserves towards the middle, and the darkest at the ends, Dusty Concord. Now, of course, you could use other mediums to color this. You could use watercolors. You could use distressed crayons. You could use regular distress inks, which are really good, or any other dye ink. And you could use Copic markers. So this set is already colored. Now I'm using this brand new craft glue called Obside. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. I got it off of Amazon because I just can't get my hands on a bottle of Barely Art glue. So in the meantime, I will use this glue and just try it out and let you know how it goes. Right now, I am just measuring where each of the flower parts need to go, making sure that I have all my pieces and that all the pieces fall into place before I begin to use that new glue. Once I'm satisfied, I start with the second piece and put that right on top of the fullest part of the flower, and then move on to the last part that has the petals, but it is the smallest of the 3 pieces. And that goes right on top. You can certainly use some foam tape underneath every layer to make it really pop up. I just decided to go pretty flat this time. So here I'm just adding the finishing touch at the very top, I guess, of the flower, this bulbous part. And I'm just giving that a little bit of dimension using Dusty Concord all around the edges. And I'll place that right on top. These tweezers are called reverse tweezers, and they're really good for picking up little pieces and placing them so your fingers and your hands don't get in the way. Next, I am just going to add both of my leaves with just a little bit of that glue. And I've seen most people who have these dies and make projects with them just put the leaves towards the bottom, but I just put them anywhere. Whatever floats my boat for this particular project. Okay, just moving up those petals a little bit just so it doesn't look way too flat. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the second flower. And I've already cut those pieces as well. And I'm going to color them with the exact same 3 greens and the exact same 3 purples. But this time I'm going to go the opposite route, where I'm going to start with the darkest color, go into the mid color, and then the lightest at the very edge of the petals. I kind of like this style a little bit more than the other one. If you've used Distress Oxides before, you know they tend to look a little bit dull, and Distress inks look a little bit brighter, but they all look beautiful in the end. This is a 3D texture embossing folder from Sizzix and Ranger. It is from Tim Holtz, and it's this beautiful basket weave. And I'm going to make that basket weave really stand out by adding some more Distress Oxide. This time I am just going to use two colors. I did take out Pumice Stone but decided against it, and then just moved on to Vintage Photo. I cover the panel with Vintage Photo, and then I take ground espresso and go all around the edges. And it looks kind of messy when you're first doing this and you think it doesn't really look so great, but when you put it all together, it looks fantastic. This ground espresso is just going to give it more of an aged look. Now I'm just playing with my two flowers and deciding where I'm going to place those on the panel before I add this panel to the card base. The card base I'm using is a basic A2 panel. It is side folding, and it is in 100-pound cardstock in black from Recollections. So I'm placing that panel right at the top, and the panel is cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And then I'm going to place my two flowers right on top of that basket weave panel. I'm just deciding what the placement should be, but I realized I need a sentiment. So I'm going to grab these dies that are just generic dies I've got off of Amazon, and I'm going to die cut the word beautiful. But I've die cut it 3 times so that it's a little stiffer and easier to manage. So then the decision is, where do I put the sentiment? And so I finally decide that the sentiment really should go in the center. So I'm going to place the sentiment in the center, but I'm going to place the sentiment first and then place my flowers. I'm going to use some of that Oxide glue. If anyone knows how to say that name, please let me know. I'm just going to add that in. The one thing I already like about this brand is that tip is so fine that I could really get around those small curves of this sentiment. So I'm placing that right in the center. And then I realized I can't find the little dot. I'm looking for the dot and I can't find it. After I layered 3 little dots together, it took forever to do it. So I just said I'm just going to go ahead and use something else to create that dot. Okay, so I finally decide on which flower is going to go on top and which one's going to go on the bottom. And I'm just going to glue those in place. All right, so my top flower is set in place. I'm just picking up those petals to make it stand out a little bit more, and then I add the second flower at the bottom. Next, I need to figure out what to do with that little eye there that needs the dot. So I grab my trusty go-to is my Nuvo Crystal Drops in black. And I'm going to use that to create the little dot for the eye. But then I decide this card base needs more Nuvo Crystal Drops. So I add a couple of drops here and there. And I think it really does make a big difference. You could also add some gems. You could add some crystals, some dewdrops. It would all look fantastic. Now, I did make some cards before using Tim Holtz products and dyes. But I thought that these flowers are pretty, but they're a little too pretty. So I think I'm going to add a little bit of distress to them. I guess that's the key word today. And I'm using this Distress Mica Stain Spray in green. And I think I use a little bit of the pink as well. Now, some of you may not like this style. It might look a little bit messy to you, but I think it gives it more of a grungy, rustic feel that I think will go well with that basket. So I do add the pink to it, and I just dab off a little bit of that. And there's my rustic, grungy looking flowers, cone flowers. I do grab an old stamping pad from Stampin' Up! In this beautiful eggplant color, and these stamp pads stay juicy forever. I've had these for many years, and I grabbed it because I looked at the flowers and I thought, you know what, they're beautiful, they're grungy, but I think they need a little bit more. So off screen, I'm grabbing a tool that I use when I use chalk to color images, and I thought that this would give the flowers a little bit more of a lift. So I'm adding some of that eggplant ink here and there, and it looks like I'm making little dots, but I'm really not. I am blending it and giving them a little bit more distinction between the petals. And I think the bottom one, which was my least favorite, actually becomes my favorite because that purple from the eggplant looks really, really good there. Once I complete that, I can call this card done. So here is my beautiful card using the Honey Cuts layering flowers in the cone flower, but I used a lot of Tim Holtz products as well. I used the Distressed Mica and this beautiful basket weave embossing folder. I hope this inspires you to create something beautiful with HoneyBee stamps and dies and with Tim Holtz products. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave me a comment. Let me know what you want to see next. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye-bye.